What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to Kevin's Corner, where I try to make sense out of nonsense. And I saw a video on Tucker Carlson the other day where this coach had some 8-year-olds kneel down as a protest, or I guess basically aligning yourself to support what Colin Kaepernick started last year or whatever. And, you know, I've been listening to people rant and rave over, oh, don't support the NFL because of Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick is a grown man who made his own choices. And what's interesting about that is when, first of all, he hasn't been producing anything in the last couple of years. So it's a very strong possibility he's not getting picked up because he's been stinking it up. And nobody wants to just believe it's that simple. But nonetheless, he created controversy around himself in a field that he knows that is going to scrutinize everything that they do. And people talking about he has the right to protest, but on the job, see, here's my thing. He's not just representing himself. He's representing the NFL. He's representing his team. If this was a solo sport that you get paid not from a team like golf or something, by all means, you sit down, lay down, roll over when they singing the national anthem or whatever. But you're part of a bigger organization, and you chose to use the platform that they provided you to protest on their time. And when that brings negative PR to that company or the NFL or whoever you work for, you're done. And I mean, I'm saying to myself, if I'm a school teacher and I disagree with some of America's policies, and the superintendent says, all right, everybody stand up for the national anthem. I don't sit down and boycott the national anthem on my job just to, you know, protest on my job. What is that going to solve? Not to mention the way that they have used the kids in the 8 years old. I'm saying to myself, these kids aren't even fully old enough or conscious enough to understand why they're protesting. And these modern day protests have really discredited and really put a big scar on true protests. It's no different than how racism has been watered down to whatever the Democrats and the liberals just define it to be. When you talk to people who really lived through racist errors in our history, they kind of chuckle at the label that's being put on every situation. Racist, 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 racist. And so when you see some of these protests, I say to myself, let's sit down and talk about the logic of your protest. First of all, who is the protest directed at? The flag? I mean, if anything, protests against either an organization that you say are oppressing blacks or a particular person. But when you just say America, when you just say the police, not a policeman or the police department, the police. When you start throwing out all types of blames and groups that you are protesting against without being able to identify it so people can get on board and say, let's go after this person. Let's go after this organization. But to just say America is reckless with black people, you're just throwing everybody in a big clump. Secondly, what is your end game? What is the solution that you want to find? How will you measure that? So if you feel that right now black people were being killed by the police, what is your demands? You're kneeling down, and then what happens? What if people say, okay, please tell us what the problem is, we'll try to fix it. But if you can't say, I want to see A, B, C, D, and E, and F done before I feel like we're on the right track, then you're just protesting in vain. Have a game plan if you're going to protest. Not to mention, how do you measure whether the objective has been accomplished? I mean, if America, whoever that is, when people say that, I'm going, you're throwing out ideas and you're creating this false image in everybody's mind, like the whole system is against all of us in this particular race or this particular ethnicity or sex or whatever. So you got to be a little more strategic if you're going to protest. You can't just say America Tell me who in America. Tell me what organization, so we can come up with a game plan and some demands that can actually be met. Because let's think about it. You have to leave room for humanity when you start saying stuff like, well, I want to see the police be more sensitive during their training, or whatever you want. Say that lasts for a whole year, and you decide, now I'm satisfied, I won't kneel anymore during the national anthem. And for whatever reason, because humans are flawed, some police officer have a trigger finger, he's nervous or she's nervous, and kill another black man. Do you say, oh, everything we accomplished has now been totally wiped away? Or do you judge that particular incident based off of the flaw in all humans to err, to make bad decisions like that? Or do you just simply blanket all the police, and do you blanket all of America for being the source of racism towards black people or whatever? And trust me, being a black man, I understand. If something is obviously racist and something is, but I'm not an overreactor. I'm not going to jump on a bandwagon and say every situation that happens is motivated by race. So as a black man, I got to judge it case by case, not just say, man, America is against black men or black women or whatever. Show me, give us the ability to attack our or your, whoever you feel is your accuser. But just to say, man, I'm a kneel with no game plan, no demands, no end game, no measurement of saying, okay, after I see this, then I will now feel like America's worthy of me kneeling. Which you really should be focused on. If you want to help out the black people in the black community, something I've done. So before people start saying, man, you an Uncle Tom, you a sellout. I spent years working with inner city kids trying to show them how to develop conflict resolution and also how to develop social skills outside of their environment. The reason a lot of stuff escalates when it comes to young black men is because they can't decipher from big problem and little problem. Wait, big problem and little problem. Thank you. They can't decipher. So everything is a major problem. They lack that respect initially for authority because they're brought up amongst a whole group of people in their community that's saying, man, the police ain't bleep and bunk them, man. You ain't got to listen to the... If you develop that mentality as if immediately my mind got to go to the worst when it comes to the police, now based off of that and the fact that you lack conflict resolution skills, something that could have been avoided can escalate. So if you really want to assist with inner city black men getting killed or black people getting killed all over, go to the origin of some of the behaviors that possibly, and I'm not saying in every case, but possibly can lead to this. Let me give you an example. When I was a principal, I had 2 girls jump somebody in the school. Instead of leaving the premises, they decided to celebrate in the parking lot while the police were on their way. Police get there, big, tall, white cop, short Italian cop. They both talking, and I'm listening to them collaborate. They didn't even want to give her a ticket. They didn't want to go through the paperwork. So they said, you know what? Let's just go ahead and write up a statement, and if the school want to press charges later, they can. So guy goes over to ask her some simple questions. Ma'am, what's your name? Why you want to know my name? I don't know what it is. Now, I'm seeing the police officers' demeanor start to change. So he's like, okay, so we got to go through this. What's your name? I ain't got to tell you my name, blah, 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 blah. He said, okay, see, now, listen. I have the power to either let you go or lock you up. Now, I'm going to ask you one more time. What's your name? You ain't got to tell me that. I know how blank, blank, PD, get down. Y'all, blah, blah, blah. And next year, okay, you know what? He start putting away the little notepad. And I said, it's about to get physical. Grabs her on the car. There she is, stomach down, handcuffs. Now, if I'm the guy just riding by and I see that, I'm going, racism, they're always attacking black people. But because I got an inside view of how she quarterbacked that situation leading up to her butt getting thrown on the car, I'm going, you deserved every bit of that being thrown on the car because you didn't have the social skills and conflict resolution skills to handle it. I would open the door sometime at the school, see a young man sitting there either on his phone or a hat on. I would be very calm. My first approach becomes, hey, young man, could you please take off your hat? Man, why I gotta take off my hat, man? You always tripping, man. Other people be having their hat on. Now, it becomes my mission to make sure that hat's coming off. And that's what a lot of young inner city black people don't realize. I didn't want to spend no time fighting over that hat. I wanted to go back to my office. But now, because he want to overreact and take a small problem and escalate it into a big one, now it's war. And I'm going, one way or another, that hat is coming off your head. And if you were to talk to him, in his mind, I offended him. I can't believe you come up and ask me to take my hat off. And I'm going, that is because when you have a group of young men that all are in the same environment, and being in the black community, I understand this. You grow up in an environment that supports certain behaviors and ideas that the rest of the world don't operate by. And if you're not subjected to other behaviors and environments, you will attack every situation with hostility, with too much pride, with too much aggression. All of those things are fostered a lot of times as coping mechanisms in inner city areas. So if you really want to start impacting the outcome of police and young black men, start with going there and saying, look, man, every situation doesn't require you to go off or run or do whatever. Try to negotiate yourself out of this situation with some decent social skills. That can either get you in or out of trouble. I was once looking at some big trouble when I was in college. I went into the courtroom with a suit and tie on. Look in the back is a guy sitting there with sunglasses on and a leather hat and a long trench coat. All rise. The judge comes in. Now, here's where having a social IQ kicks in. The world does not revolve around your attitude and your ego. Judge stops and looks at this man for about 35, 40 seconds straight. When somebody looks at you that long, you can tell they're looking at you for a reason. It's a problem. So the judge looking at him and he's not catching it. So finally the judge tells the bailiff, go over there and tell that man to remove his hat. Goes over, sir, could you remove your hat? Nice and calm. Man, take the hat off. And I'm looking at the judge's demeanor and I'm going, he's about to get the business. Call his name. He walks down the aisle swaying like, I don't want to be here, man. It's some bull crap. And I'm not even the judge. He was a black guy. But I'm thinking, I want to give you the hammer based on your attitude. So he gets there. Judge asks him what happened. He mumbling, man, you know what I'm saying? And the judge like, excuse me, I'm sorry. Could you speak up? He's like, man, I said, man. Now I'm going, immediately find him guilty. Boop, gave him the max, 3 months in jail. I'm like, now if he gave that guy 3 months in jail, he's going to throw me under the jail because my offense was worse than his. I went up there with some common sense and some social skills. My opening line was, Your Honor, first of all, I'd like to start off by saying I was wrong in my behavior. Before it was over, me and the judge was laughing, talking about football. At the time, I was playing in college, and he's like, man, can you give me some tickets? Knock the charges down to a misdemeanor. That changed the course of my life. If I didn't have coping skills, if I didn't have conflict resolution skills, if I lacked social skills, I wouldn't have been able to go to college, keep my scholarship, become an educator. None of that. It would have been taken away based off of a hasty decision that mostly is driven by pride or resistance to authority. So before black men or women or everybody jump on a bandwagon of, man, you know, we gotta do something about all of these cop violent things that go on with black people. First things first, calm down, wait and see the results. Get all the facts before you jump out and start saying the whole system is against us, or all the cops are against us, or this is blatant racism. You know, I've seen how a lot of young black men will act, and I'm black, and I would talk to them, and they're giving me that same type of attitude, and I'm going, man, I want to check you. For real. You're disrespectful, and you blowing something up that really doesn't have to get blown up. So go back to the hood, Kaepernick, and those that are trying to indoctrinate these 8-year-olds to take a knee over a protest they're not even consciously able to understand or comprehend. And all you're doing is furthermore destroying the faith in our society, in America as a whole. So you're going to have young men duplicating what you're saying. And I'm sure telling them to kneel came with a brief explanation of how oppressed young black men are, and they're getting killed in the street. these young men might grow up with that assumption that as soon as I see a cop, the first thing I got to do is just buck up, stick my chest out, and resist. And you can talk yourself in or out of trouble. Secondly, you mess up the patriotism and loyalty towards America. And I'm not talking about the America of 1902 when folks was getting lynched and things like that. Yeah, those were real reasons to protest. But now we got to work with what we're working with. And at this point, we need everybody to be on board and in love with our country and evaluate flaws in our country case by case. But to buy into this narrative that the whole system and everybody, that's like saying every black person eat watermelon or chicken, which we do like chicken and watermelon, but not every black person eats chicken and watermelon. So you don't want to throw things out there like that. And you got to be careful about polluting the minds of young men and women based off of how you feel about the situation. Let them get older enough to look at case by case situations and develop their own opinions. But you're setting them up for failure when you start preaching to 8-year-olds about how wicked and corrupt the system is and cops are. And now all of a sudden they start getting older and they take that attitude into the streets and unleash it in a situation where it could have been resolved peacefully, but they come with the attitude based off of years of people saying, man, you got to watch out for the pigs, man. Watch out for them cops, man. They killing brothers out in the street. You keep pounding that in their head, and instead of them going, officer, my fault, let me get out the street, or officer, my bad, I'm gonna move on. When you say, yeah, need to keep get it moving. Man, why I got the, man, y'all cats always coming up in here talk. Now all of a sudden, the officer goes from, I didn't want to do paperwork, I didn't want to arrest nobody tonight, but to, oh, you being disrespectful. So what I'm saying is this. When you start putting your politics and your personal protests or ideas or ideology on kids, I don't want to see kids become victims. When I saw the video, I was disturbed. And I'm like, these kids looking around like, I don't even know why I'm kneeling. I just want to play football. And so don't use them as propaganda pieces. That's what I'm saying. And frankly, when I look at the whole protest against the flag that he did, I'm going, the flag hasn't done nothing for you. I know it was symbolic of what America stands for. Bunk that. When I see the flag, I think of all the people who died for it, not the fact that the broken American system or people in the system have been corrupt or done things that they shouldn't have done. But what about the people who went out and died and bled for it so you can be on the football field doing what you do, kneeling down, you know? So that's Kaepernick's personal choice. But all of these people jumping on the bandwagon and telling us I need to, man, I love my Pittsburgh Steelers. That was Kaepernick's choice. That man's already rich. I'm going to watch the Steelers on Sunday. Forget boycotting. You crazy. So anyway, I know I'm going to probably get some heat from this, man. Yeah, but let me tell you something. I'm trying to make sense out of nonsense. Have a game plan when you're going to get mad. Don't be walking around mad for nothing. Whole bunch of people. I'm mad. Why? I don't know. The system. I'm mad for nothing. Basically, you're looking for a reason to get upset and make it seem like, man, so much stuff going on, I got to protest against it. Pick and choose your battles and have a game plan. So just in case, in the middle of your protesting, somebody comes and gets out of a limo and say, okay, I'm the man. Okay, you know how people, man, the man ain't going to give you. What if the man shows up and he says, all right, I've heard you. What do you want? To feel like you don't have to protest no more. That you don't have to go out and say, all of America, they suck. I hate them. Let's all sit down. Let's go to sleep during the national anthem. What do you have to do? What do you want from us? And you sitting there with your pants down going, I ain't think it through that far. I just wanted people to know I was mad at stuff. So where's the end game? Who are you protesting? What organization are you protesting? And what is the solution and measurement to say, I no longer need to protest? That's my take on the situation. Holla back at me. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and subscribe. And look at the link below. You'll find that I have some t-shirt products that if you want to purchase to support what I do, I would greatly appreciate it, because YouTube have been demonetizing my videos as if I'm on here like, you know what? I won't go out there. I won't kill me some black people.
We gonna go out there and we gonna get the Muslims, because I know the constipation, okay? I know my rights. We taking this country back. We hate everybody. I'm not out here doing that, but yet they demonetizing me. It's a shame. Anyway, take care. Bye-bye now.